What is going on? Man, what a crazy time this last week has been, Scotty. Well, first, before we get into all that, I've got to welcome in my co-host, Scotty T. Scotty, before we talk about this craziness, how was your week then, man? Yes, it is.
My mic is on. Okay, what's going on, party people? Kind of built a little makeshift studio over here, so I'm not in front of my computer in the office. I'm across the street, put up a little backdrop, using a microphone now, so that's new and improved. But Josh, my weekend was good. My old roommate got engaged over the weekend. So I was in the DFW area. Want to give a shout out to my boy Donovan, pulling the trigger, getting engaged. So congratulations, Donovan and Lindsay. Now the wedding festivities can begin. But it was a good weekend. Was up in the DFW Metroplex. Saw a lot of friends. Got in around the golf as well. So all in all, it was a good weekend. Josh, how was your weekend, man?
My weekend was, I would just say relaxing. So as you know, I was at the Texas High School Coaches Association conference. Saturday through Tuesday basically. So and just getting all that stuff that we did for it up and running. I should probably put myself on the camera. There you go. There I am. So dealing with all that, getting all that settled. So it was mainly just me relaxing, watching some Olympics, watching some soccer. USA won last night and scoring that goal in the 82nd minute. So just a very, very crazy week for me. And let's start there with that crazy week because we have at the Texas High School Coaches Association conference, we have Nick Saban there, we have Steve Sarkisian there, I believe Jimbo Fisher was there, all these great college coaches. And then day later at the SEC Media Days, when Jimbo Fisher is up talking about A&M, the news breaks from the Houston Chronicle that Texas and OU are saying, see you later, the Big 12, and hello to the SEC. Scotty, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I know you're a Baylor grad. I'm not a Texas grad, but I'm a Texas fan. What are your thoughts on this? And this has happened. It's before a couple hours before we came on today. OU and Texas basically put out a joint statement that says, "Hey, Big 12, we're out." Like they'll either play until 2025 when their contract is up, or they're gonna buy out the rest of their time there. But they are gone come 2025 at the latest. Scotty, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I just posed the question out on the chat. What do you think of UT and OU leaving the Big 12? Bro, I have so many mixed thoughts and opinions on these types of things. And it's so hard for me because I'm a Baylor grad. And first off, I hated the fact, even going back 10 years ago, the fact that A&M left the SEC. I think they I love watching Baylor play Texas A&M. I loved watching UT A&M play on Thanksgiving. It was a thing, and so many rivalries were just pushed to the side, and it was all money. It's all money related. So it's hard to remove myself from this because, again, a Baylor graduate. And so I think objectively it is a good thing for college football. It's a good thing for college football because it's going to make the rich richer. SEC objectively already plays the best football. You throw in Oklahoma, who's been a perennial college football playoff team, and then you throw in Texas. Now, Texas hasn't been the same for the past 10 years or so, but they're still the University of Texas, the flagship program in this great state. I am nervous because of my Baylor Bears. I think they might be left out of the conversation. And that's one thing, we were all talking about. I mentioned I was with friends. We all went to college together. Baylor could get the short end of the stick very quickly. Now, it does help, I think, the other sports because Baylor is very good on the other sports, and they've been a good football program going back to 2008, 2009-ish, and then when RG3 won the Heisman, that really put them on the map. So that's why I'm really torn about this because I still personally want Baylor to play TCU, to play Texas Tech, to play Texas and Oklahoma. Those are great games, and I don't think Baylor's going to be playing big-time college football, though, if this happens. Now, there are rumors out there. There's so many rumors, right? It's crazy. I'll flip it over to you first, but I'm hearing rumors that Baylor might get snatched up by the ACC or even the Pac-12. It just kind of depends. But overall, I think I'm sad because the Big 12 has been around ever since I've been alive. I think they formed in 1996. I was born in 92, so I don't remember the Southwest Conference days. So it's just seeing all these good teams and good rivalries essentially being pushed off to the side. And I get it, though. Money talks. Follow the money. So I'm excited to see Texas and Texas A&M play again potentially, because I'm sure they'll end up being in the same conference. But I'll flip it over to you. I think Baylor's in a decent position. I think them and TCU kind of go hand in hand wherever they go. They kind of go hand in hand. But overall, I'm sad because the Big 12 is a dead conference walking right now. The Big 12's done. Big 12's done. It's just where are the dominoes going to fall from here?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really see the Big 12 surviving, especially in when they call the Power 5 format, right? I mean, they could bring in some teams. There's been talks of that, but there's really just no way you can consider that a Power 5 conference anymore, which is crazy. Yes, Oklahoma has been king of Big 12 football, and then Texas has not really. But even with that, you kind of think, oh well. So they're just losing two teams, and all of a sudden the conference is done. It's like, yes, when you look at just the blue bloods of college football, those are two of the top names you think of when you think of the blue bloods of college football, just leaving that conference. So I don't know what's going to happen. People are saying, hey, Pac-12, ACC, Big Ten, they're going to scoop up some of the teams. I mean, you look at it, I mean, Kansas is a good team to scoop up. Yes, not for football, but for basketball, right? Basketball powerhouse right there in Kansas. I mean, yes, right. Maybe not so much a basketball powerhouse, but Baylor, having won the national championship recently, they're going to be a team that you're going to want to scoop up as well. So, But let's move on to the two teams that I want to talk about, or I guess the one team I want to talk about, which is Texas. And, I'm not one of those people that's going to start chanting the SEC. I hate that notion that I have to cheer for my conference. You'll never hear me excited when A&M wins anything, or Alabama or anything like that. So you're not going to see me doing that. But I think it's a big win for Texas. Once A&M left for the SEC, they benefited from that recruiting, right? And I think Texas, yes, not only from a monetary standpoint, but from a standpoint of, hey, this is going to help us recruit. This is going to help us get back to that level where we were, 10, 15 years ago. And I've seen a lot of people talking about, oh, well, Texas has been struggling in the Big 12. What's going to happen when they go into the SEC? They're going to be suffering, right? But, I mean, maybe for a few years, but, I mean, A&M was a mid-tier team in the Big 12 before they went to the SEC, and now look at them. So, and now you're talking about Texas, and no offense to A&M, but Texas going to the SEC, that's just going to absolutely help their recruiting, in my opinion. And with the right coach, which we'll see if Steve Sarkisian is, they have the potential to get right back up there. So this whole notion that because Texas has struggled recently that they're just going to struggle in the SEC, that's not necessarily true. Because like I said, A&M was a legit mid-tier team in the Big 12 before they went to the SEC. I mean, I look at the numbers. The numbers for like the last I think it's 12 years that the A&M was in the Big 12 compared to the last 12 years for Texas right now, the last 12 years, it's almost identical. In fact, Texas has a better record those last 12 years. And so it's like saying that, yes, I do think, depending on when they jump, because like we said, UT and OU could technically buy out the rest of their years. And so not this season, but technically next season, depending on how things worked out.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but if you want to be in the SEC immediately, especially if Texas is trying to get Arch Manning, who's a class of 2023, if they want to get him to UT, they might want to be in the SEC by then. There's indications that he does love Texas, but it might come down to if they can be in the SEC by then. So if they can scoop him up, that's going to start things off on a strong note. And so maybe they want to buy out. And if there's teams that can probably buy out and get into the SEC immediately, it's going to be OU and Texas. I mean, heck, people say, hey, Texas, they haven't been strong in football. They lead the revenue, right? As an athletic, and not only as an athletic program, but as a football program, lead in revenue earned. So it really tells you just the power that UT has. There are some people, speaking of power, and I know I'm talking a lot, but it's a crazy thing to talk about. one thing you do have to wonder about, and this is something a lot of people have brought up, is they're not going to have as much power in the SEC as they did in the Big 12. UT's used to getting their way, so what's that going to be like? But I feel like with Chris Del Conte at the helm, he's going to be able to really handle this well. I want to turn it back over to you, though, to get some more of your thoughts on this for some of the stuff I've said.
Well, to the Arch Manning thing, like, I don't think one high school recruit is driving these types of decisions, at least in terms of buying out contracts, right? So that's my quick note on that. I mean, yeah, he might be one of the most anticipated high school recruits since Peyton Manning, really, since his uncle. So, yeah, there's so much to unpack here because, yeah, do they leave early? Personally, I don't think that they do. It definitely affects A&M a lot because here's the thing. When A&M joined the SEC, they had lightning in a bottle with Johnny Football. And so that kind of made them relevant. But really, and they haven't been great through the Kevin Sumlin years. And then I forget who was even before Jimbo Fisher. Was it Kevin Sumlin?
Yes.
Before Jimbo?
Yes.
Okay. So the early years of Jimbo also weren't great. But last year, they have a lot of momentum. After winning against Florida, A&M is definitely trending, I would say. But it's taken a long time to get there. So Texas definitely recruits better overall, I'd say. But A&M has caught up. I love their last class that they got. A&M also has 10 years of playing experience in the SEC because it took them a long time to ramp up to that. So they have essentially, I don't know if it's a 10-year head start theoretically against Texas, but they definitely have a head start. So I don't want to hear also the big brother, little brother argument thing. That's just, I think it's dumb at this point because A&M is probably a little bit better on the football field than Texas. But, if A&M fans are scared to play against UT, you shouldn't be. Go play them. Go beat them. If you're sick and tired of the big brother, little brother argument, then go play them. OU will seamlessly fall in. They're ready to play big-time football in the SEC right now. They're ready, even though they haven't necessarily shown up in the college football playoff the last few years. I think that OU will be fine. It'll be fun, though, seeing OU go to Athens. It'll be fun seeing OU go to Death Valley at LSU, to Auburn, to Alabama. Like those. So that's why I think I said earlier, overall it's a good thing for college football because those are the types of things that you want to see. I would love to see the Crimson Tide go to Austin to play UT. So also, there are the rumors that A&M didn't know that this was going on, that they've had these conversations for 6 months with totally keeping A&M in the dark, which is not necessarily a great look for A&M if that is true. But at the end of the day, the ships rise with the tide, whatever that saying is. I just butchered that. I apologize. It's going to be a good thing for the SEC. It's going to be a good thing for OU. It's going to be a good thing for Texas. The college football landscape is changing, and all sports are affected by this. But let's be real. It's football that is driving this at the moment. It's going to turn into, in my opinion, my brother-in-law said this, which it's his birthday. Happy birthday. It's going to be a major league and minor league version now in college football. It is. The Power Five is going to be the major leagues, and everybody else is going to be minor league football. So that's why I'm kind of nervous selfishly as a Baylor fan. How does Baylor and TCU fall into that? Are they going to get relegated down to the minor leagues, if you will? Where does U of H fall into this? I'm here in Houston right now. U of H is done well in the last 10, 15 years in football. Are they going to get snatched up by somebody? Or Boise State, a traditional mid-power, UCF. These mid-tier schools are going to try to jump up because they don't want to be left behind. Everybody's freaking out right now. I'm freaking out. And Twitter's definitely freaking out. I just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, the media rights, they're not renewing it, so I don't know what's going to happen, man. It's kind of crazy. Selfishly, I'm going to say I'm not a supporter of it because it doesn't help my school's interests. I don't think, but as a college football fan, it's the direction that it's going, whether you like it or not.
It will be interesting to see what happens on that end. I mean, and I think it's people are like, well, you talked about Oklahoma and having a fate. Look, Alabama's the only consistent team in the SEC. Let's be honest. you have LSU, you have Auburn, you have Florida, you have Georgia. Those other 4 teams, they're always a little tough, right? But the consistent team in the SEC is Alabama. I mean, you're lucky if Alabama loses twice in a season. So that's the one team you have to worry about. And what they were talking, of course, there's still so much time, and we don't know what's going to happen. But I mean, early indications are going to be, I don't know if I call it this, but 4 pods, right? And so Texas and OU will probably be in a pod together. And I wouldn't be surprised, just out of pettiness, if A&M says, "Okay, this is fine, but don't put us in the same pod as Texas," right? Just because they're so
better.
you have to.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like A&M fans should not be scared of Texas now.
Not right now.
Because
Not
they've
right
been
now.
playing in the SEC. Not right now. No, they shouldn't be. Like, right? Why
Yeah,
would-
I mean,
if you're an A&M fan, why would you be scared to play Texas? That is not a good look.
On paper, like this year, and of course, I think it's still going to be a couple of years until they're in the SEC. But obviously, right now on paper, A&M has a better squad, right? Now we'll see how recruiting looks in the next couple of years, knowing that Texas is going to the SEC. But yeah, I mean, I think if anything, it's out of pettiness, right? That's why. I mean, A&M has been so adamant about not playing Texas this last decade, right? I think there's some pettiness there. Now there's some grudge because of the Longhorn Network and all that. There's a lot of grudge. I mean, but that's why you want that. It's a rival. That's a rivalry right there. You want to bring that back. So it'll be interesting to see how the pods work out, and obviously how the schedule works out in that end. Obviously, I think they were saying the way you could work out with a 4-pod situation is, you're playing every team at least once every 3 years, which I think is a home run win for the SEC. Who you have some teams that haven't played each other in almost half a decade, right? So 5-6 years, which is insane to think about. That it's been that long since you played someone in your own conference. So
I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. Then what's the point of having a conference, right?
Exactly.
You don't play them once every 5 years.
Exactly.
You can schedule home and home with somebody about that. That's stupid.
Yeah. So I think this is a home run.
I want to bring
Go
this
ahead.
up. Who's driving this? Who's making this call, do you think, Josh? Because I have my thoughts and theories on this. Who is driving this home and making all these changes?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the SEC. I mean, and I would say to a little extent, probably Chris Del Conte, right? So I think the SEC is the main driving force behind this, or heck, maybe even ESPN themselves. I mean, ESPN just signs this huge deal with the SEC, and heck, maybe they go and say, hey, try to get these other 2 teams, and we'll give you we'll bump up that contract. So, I mean, I think
Bro.
I think it's one is probably, I would say maybe 1A, 1B, ESPN, SEC, and then kind of a distant 2 is probably Chris Del Conte. Obviously, I mean, he's been doing great things for the university. I think it's just the next step, but top tier is easily ESPN, SEC.
I think when you're saying SEC, I think you really mean ESPN. Seriously. Okay, because who pays the conferences? It's the TV networks. It is ESPN, CBS, and Fox, ABC. Or I guess ABC is ESPN, right? And maybe NBC. So, because that's how they get paid with their media rights. So that's why it's a good financial move to throw in Texas and OU into the SEC, because you're going to get more money for those games. That's why we say follow the money. Who owns the SEC network? ESPN. Who owns the ever failing, never made any money, Longhorn Network? ESPN. If ESPN can transition the Longhorn Network over into the SEC network and just be like, oh, we're not dissolving the Longhorn Network, we're just merging it with the SEC, boom. Then that's a moneymaker for them now. Because let's be real, Josh, like, you know this. The Longhorn Network was trash. Like, it just was. Nobody watched it. ESPN way overpaid for it. And that's, one of the driving factors why Texas A&M left the Big 12, because they were very upset about that. So that's why it is, in my opinion, the TV networks are driving all of this, because Fox has the big contract with the Big 12. And if UT and OU leave the Big 12, nobody's going to watch that. Look, I'm a Baylor fan, but nobody's watching Baylor versus Kansas State on a 2:30 afternoon game on Fox. So I think ESPN is trying to put the other networks with a rock and a hard place. They're trying to put pressure on them to make moves. So now you're going to have Fox, you're going to have CBS and all these TV networks, NBC, bidding in these 4 pods that are going to be forming now. I really think it's ESPN that's driving all this decision here.
And you have to
Is that a crazy theory?
No, not at all. And you have to wonder if this is like maybe phase one of their grand plan, and maybe form like a 32 team super conference, right? Kind of like a la NFL, right? So and I wouldn't even
be the majors versus the minors.
I wouldn't even be surprised if we don't see between the time that Texas and OU join the SEC. So the next few years, if we don't see a few more teams join the SEC between now and then. So and if that happens, yeah, then you're going to see the SEC just become a big super conference. So interested to see. This is, I mean, crazy times ahead.
We should probably do another episode on this. Because literally every hour it seems like new news is dropping in some form or fashion. So I have 2 questions for you, Josh. And
Go ahead.
We might wrap up the segment because I know you want to get to some other stuff. Where do you think the rest of the Big 12 schools end up? Because I think Baylor is trending in the right direction. Again, I think Baylor and TCU kind of go hand in hand together. Oklahoma State might be the most attractive program for a conference to snag up. But, I mean, they were really upset that OU is leaving because they're the 2 premier universities in the state. So where does Oklahoma State go? Where does the rest of the Big 12 go? Because if you're Iowa State, if you're the Big 10, you probably want to try to snatch up Kansas, Iowa State. But does Iowa want Iowa State in their conference again? Like, it's a good rivalry, but if you throw – I don't know if they want to be in the same conference. So it's just where do the rest of the Big 12 schools go? Because they're in the middle of the country. You got the ACC, SEC. Big 10 is kind of middle of the country, but then you got the Pac-12 all the way out there. Where do we go?
It's really interesting to see what's going to happen on the end. You kind of feel like you said, the Kansas State, Iowa State, they may probably end up going to Big 10 country, or just maybe West Virginia or even ACC, right? So I think those kind of are those teams that might go to there. You would think maybe heck, the Pac-12 maybe tries to scoop up TCU, the rest of the Texas teams, TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, and maybe so you can be a nice even number, maybe Oklahoma State, right? So I think those are going to probably be what you're going to see. Is I would say those 4 teams probably might see them come to the Pac-12, or at the end of the day, maybe Pac-12 says, you know what, we're going to keep it the way it is and try to bring in some maybe bring in Houston, maybe bring in Cincy, UCF. So I think those are going to be your options. So I think the least likely option is the Big 12 stays. The most likely option is you see the 3 Texas teams, maybe Oklahoma State, go to the Pac-12, and then the rest get divvied up between Big 10 and ACC.
Yeah, there's no way the Big 12 stays together to that point because you're losing, frankly, the 2 flagship programs of the Big 12. You're going to replace them with U of H and SMU? Nope, that ain't going to fly. That literally is a dead conference walking then. Like, the AAC might claim to have a better conference than the Big 12. Not really, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way the Big 12 stays together, I don't think. Yeah, it's technically an option, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, something crazy would have to happen along those lines, but I would agree. I think the least likely scenario is Big 12 stays.
I think so. My other question to you: what does Notre Dame do? Because I think that is, frankly, a driving factor that not many people are talking about it. I was watching Unnecessary Roughness this morning. They were actually talking a good bit about that because Notre Dame has that big contract with NBC. So now we were talking about the media TV show, I don't know why I'm blanking on that.
Media rights?
We're talking about TV contracts, media rights. NBC pretty much only does Notre Dame. So they're probably thinking, well, we got to get in on this now. And Notre Dame, look, it's a different world than when Notre Dame made that deal. And they already played in ACC schedule in all other sports. So, and frankly, they play an ACC schedule now in football outside of USC and a couple other schools. So I think where Notre Dame falls, because I think they're going to join a conference. Them and BYU have to join a conference now. You can't go independent. So it's like, where do the rest of the Big 12 schools go? And I think the first domino to fall is going to be, where does Notre Dame go?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought as far as where do they end up going. I mean, independent has worked for them. I mean, they've made the playoff, but the last, last year they made it. I think they played for a national championship, 7 years ago, something like that. So it's not like being independent hasn't hurt them. I think it all comes down to scheduling. Now, I do think if Texas and OU aren't the only teams to end up joining the SEC, I think then you might see Notre Dame start reevaluating their independent kind of, outlook. But I think for now they're going to stand pat. And hey, what's good with now I don't know when their contract with NBC is up, and so maybe that might be at play as well as when that contract come up. Maybe they decide, hey, let's try something else. But I think for now they're not going to really go too much in depth on that. So
it's an interesting monkey wrench. I think Notre Dame is a monkey wrench, and yeah, they're probably getting a ton of money from NBC, but yeah, there's got to be scheduling problems now, and they're probably thinking, hey, if we join the ACC or if we join the Big Ten or whatever, we could probably make a lot more money doing that. So just a thought as well.
Yeah, but I mean, their situation's a little unique too, so it'll be interesting to see. But I think we have to put a pin on it right there.
They don't have the same pool as they used to. I don't think they have the same pool as they used to.
I mean, it'll be an interesting few years, that's for sure. And we'll put a pin on it there, simply because we do have some more things we want to talk about. I'm sure we could talk about just to this situation alone for another 2 or 3 hours if we really wanted to. Let's do some quick hitters here. Not to spend too much time on them, but talk about them. Bucks, Milwaukee Bucks win the NBA Finals over the Suns, 4-2. What's interesting about this is, I don't know if you noticed, and I think this might be the first time this has ever happened. Every series had a team go up 2-0 that ended up losing. So the Clippers in each of their first 2 rounds started the series 0-2 before winning, and then before losing in the Western Conference Finals. And then the Bucks, the Eastern Conference Finals and the Finals, they started 0-2 and they ended up winning each series 4 games to 2, or I think it was 4 games to 3 and then 4 games to 2. So pretty interesting that in these playoffs, 2-0 wasn't as safe as it has been in the past. So because every series they had a comeback. But Bucks came back. We both picked the Suns to win. I think I had them in a sweep. I think you had them in a gentleman's sweep or reverse. I can't really remember. But we both picked the Suns to win.
Check the tape.
And we were both horribly wrong. I mean, Giannis with that 50 piece, and then going and getting 50 count nuggets afterwards. I mean, just feel good for Milwaukee. Kind of that, not a big market team coming through and winning it all. Your thoughts on the NBA Finals, Scott?
Yeah, big shouts to the city of Milwaukee. First championship since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if I'm not mistaken. So I have 2 thoughts. First, we got to give credit as credit is due. Giannis is that dude. Giannis is the next face of the NBA. LeBron has been the face of the NBA since he entered the league in 2003. And this is Giannis's league now. He put up 50 points in Game 6 in a clinching finals game. So, every NBA champion always has the can he get it done thing. Even Michael Jordan had that trying to get past the Pistons. Can he get it done? Giannis is 26 years old. He's already gotten it done. So he is now the face of the NBA. It's the facts. He's the Greek freak, man. He's 6-something, maybe 7 feet tall, just can score at will, put up 50 points, man. Like, it was so awesome. And so, yeah, big shouts to the Bucks. Also, congrats, PJ Tucker, on getting your NBA championship ring. Started with the Houston Rockets this year. He was a great ambassador for the Rockets, so love PJ Tucker. Texas boy, your boy, Josh. So congrats to PJ Tucker. My other thought is I felt bad for CP3. I did, because I think that guy's been in the league for so long. It would have been nice to see him get a championship in the twilight of his career. So I don't know where he goes or what he does next, but so it was twofold. Incredible performance by Giannis. Big congrats, and also I felt bad for CP3.
Yeah, what's interesting about PJ Tucker, too, is he beat all his prior starters to get there. He beat Capella. He beat CP3. He beat who else? Forget James Harden and Ariza.
Ariza.
Yeah. So he beat all four of his former teammates to get to that point. So, but yeah, definitely feel bad for CP3 just because I mean you don't know what's going to happen next with him. That's one where it's like what 16, 17 years in the league, finally got there and came up just short. I mean, Suns are still a young squad, so I mean, we'll see, they definitely need a couple of pieces to fill in, but don't expect them to not be in this hunt next year. But congrats to the Bucks on getting one, like first time since what 72, 73. So,
long time.
Next topic for us to really discuss, and again, not a lot to discuss, more maybe contemplate. What's funny is a lot of betting sites have Rodgers retiring this week. Although today it was kind of announced that Green Bay expects him to come back for at least one more year. Is Rodgers going to retire, or is he going to play one more year, Scott?
No, he's not retiring. The guy's too good still. He's a bad man, to quote Stephen A. He is a bad man. No, the bad man Aaron Rodgers ain't retiring. He's still got it, man. What was he, like, second in the – did he win the MVP last year? I don't remember.
Yes, he did.
Was he second in voting?
No, he won the MVP.
He won the MVP?
Yeah.
He won the MVP, lost in the NFC Championship game. Are you telling me that no team is going to snatch him up? To snatch him up? He just needs to go into the right place. He needs to find a team that's going to win.
Green Bay would want to have to trade him too, and that's where things get difficult because Green Bay would want a lot for him. But if you're trading for Aaron Rodgers, you're only getting him for 2 or 3 more years, right? I mean, he's 37, so you can't really get.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be a give and take. I think he'll play. I think he'll kind of be one of those things where it's like, look, let me play one more year, then let me go, and if I want to go play somewhere else, I can. So I think that's kind of how it's going to have to kind of be. There's going to have to be kind of some mutual agreement between them and Green Bay. I think that relationship is too far straight. I mean, heck, him and Devontae Adams posted that same Instagram picture of him and Jordan and Scottie Pippen during their last run, right? So I mean, I think maybe it's an homage to this is not only for Rodgers but maybe for Adams as well. Like, this is our last year with Green Bay. Let's give it our all and try to win one before maybe Rodgers moves on or retires, and before I move on. So I don't think he's retiring. Well, but it's funny that there's obviously there's the the odds are out there for if you want to bet that he's going to retire. So if you're a gambling person,
I didn't realize the betting market was doing that. The betting market's wild. You can bet on anything now.
Moving on to some. Go ahead.
Because I'm sure you saw that Green Bay offered him that ridiculous contract to be the highest paid player in the NFL, and he turned it down. So that's why that tells me it's not about the money. He wants to go a place where he can go win. One of our coworkers over here, big Green Bay Packers fan, he said that the Packers have wasted Aaron Rodgers. Now, he got the one Super Bowl, but he said Aaron Rodgers is the type of guy who he should be getting 2, 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls. And he probably could have. He's been right there so many times. And Green Bay is just they're not on speaking terms. It's a bad breakup. Aaron Rodgers don't want to talk to the ex-girlfriend anymore. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
Yeah, I mean,
he's out of there.
It's been 10 years, 12 years since 2009 was the year they won it all. So, I mean, 12 years.
Yeah, 10, something like that.
In 2007, I was already hearing Cowboys haven't won in a decade. What have they done? So, that kind of puts into perspective just how long it's been since Aaron Rodgers has really won a Super, has really been there as the champion. Now, granted, different situations, but yeah, definitely have wasted his time there in Green Bay to only have been to the Super Bowl one time. That's crazy to me, very crazy. Go ahead, Scott. I'll let you get the last word.
Oh, the Cowboys are trash. That's the last word.
Let's not talk about your Texans then. Moving on.
I'm not talking about them. Hey, how about Deshaun Watson? He reported the camp. We have no other comment.
Yeah.
That's it.
No comment on that. Moving on to some baseball. The Cleveland Indians will be changing their name to the Cleveland Guardians. Scotty, what you think on that?
Major League. I'll never be able to view the movie Major League the same again. Those are my thoughts. Look, I don't know if the name change was necessary. If you're going to change the name, it wasn't a great name to change it to. But, like, it was a cool video they made for it. So I know you can ask Michael Jordan what it's like changing a name from the Bobcats to the Hornets in Charlotte. It's expensive, so I hope it's worth it because the Cleveland Indians have been around for a long time. It was a good name brand in the MLB. I just hope they view it to be worth it.
Yeah, I'm fine with the name change. I mean, same thing with Washington. I don't know if it will happen with Chicago Blackhawks and the Florida State Seminoles because those are more tribes. We'll see if they. I wouldn't be surprised if they consider it, but at least in Washington and Cleveland's instances, it makes a little more sense. So, yeah, I didn't even know that was.
Yeah, I didn't know it was in the conversation. Guardian's just not a good name.
I think it pays homage. Doesn't it pay homage to like their bridge or something? Or there's something in Cleveland dealing with Guardians. I felt like, which is they're paying homage to that. I'm not caught up on that. So, but
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it pays homage to something, which is why they chose that name. But
who's their mascot going to be?
It'll be an angel, right? Maybe, I don't know.
The logo, I guess the logo is terrible. I didn't like the logo. It looked like a high schooler made it on a graphic design on Canva or something. With the wings on there. It looked like who's the god, the messenger god for Zeus? Is it?
I know who you're talking.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
It looks like Hermes' little foot wing.
Oh man.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. I don't know if it was necessary or not. Like, that's not my call. I really don't care. But whatever. I'm kind of indifferent about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, big news. So
it could have been worse. It could have been worse. It could have been
the Cleveland baseball team.
Well, also, like, how long have they been workshopping this? Like, the Redskins. Oh, sorry, the Washington football team. They went an entire year and a half or so. They still haven't come out with the name.
I will say, yeah.
To figure out what's right.
They definitely did better.
Really quick.
They definitely did better than. They've probably been talking about this for a while, right? So they definitely did better in Washington, where it's like, we'll just be a football team until we figure it out. Cleveland's like, we're just going to figure this out first and then announce it. So, yeah.
I will say this. If you didn't want to wear, I forgot the mascot logo, whatever his name was, the Indian on the hats.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to wear that hat anymore or promote that logo, okay, fine. But I didn't think they needed to change the name, but since we're here, so it's already done. But, we'll see. We'll see how the Cleveland Guardians do moving forward.
Wouldn't it be funny if they win the World Series first year as that name? Kind of like, that would be
books.
That would be crazy, wouldn't it? Hey, there you go. I'm calling it. Next year, Cleveland, or whenever the Cleveland Guardians take over, World Series champs. There you go. You heard it here first.
Not if the Astros have anything to say about it.
Oh, well, let's move on to high school. That's what we normally talk about. Of course, summertime means more college and pro talks, but we do have some high school news. As I mentioned earlier, this past weekend was the Texas High School Coaches Association Conference. All coaches, not just football. That's what I feel like it's known for, but it's all sports. So they got sessions on every sport you can think of, from basketball all the way to golf. That conference was this past weekend. From what I understand, over 14,000 coaches and 20,000 people total were present. Monday I put in over 20,000 steps. That's how big that conference center was and how much I was moving around for work. But just a great conference overall, and it really just gets you excited for the season coming up. Nothing more to say on that. I just wanted to bring it up because it was this past weekend.
I want to give a big shout-out to Josh, working his tail off, setting all up, Texas High School Coaches Association. He was out there filming it, organized it all, so I know he was super busy last week, so great job, Josh. Congrats.
Appreciate it. That's why we didn't have a show last week, because I was there getting everything set up, waking up at like 5 in the morning to get there for all the first sessions, because the first session started like at 8 a.m., so very great day there. And then final news before we get to our favorite segment of the show is coach and athletic director Todd Dodge of Westlake is retiring after the 20-21 football season. Not after the school year ends in 2022, but he's retiring once the football season's over in 2021. Got some. I want to get your thoughts. I got some stats on him real quick. I want to pull up, but just while we do that, go ahead and give me your thoughts on Todd Dodge retiring after I believe it's 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the GOATs of Texas high school football, leading South Lake Carroll to all those state championships. I'd be curious to know if he would have stayed in high school and didn't try to jump up to the college ranks for a little bit, how that would have gone. Just how many more state championships he would have won, how many more wins would be in the record column for Coach Todd Dodge. But he's one of the best of all time, and big congrats. I think him winning back-to-back state championships of Westlake also really cemented that legacy. And this last year, beating South Lake in the state championship, beating the back-to-back state champs North Shore in the state semifinal games. We were talking offline last week, but he probably just wants to have one more good year with Kay Klubnik before he goes off to Clemson. So Westlake is definitely still a team to watch and probably one of the favorites to win the state championship this year.
Well, and I think we were talking. I mean, I think
He's one of the Godfathers.
7 or 8 returning on offense. Their offense is going to be stacked. I think 2 or 3 returning on defense, but their defensive coordinator and by thought by some, and including us here, to be the replacement. Tony Salazar, he's a defensive coordinator at Westlake. He's, like I said, he's been getting job offers like crazy. He's been kind of turning them down. So a lot of people have been thinking he's playing the coaching and waiting at Westlake. We'll see if that turns out to be true. But just a great defensive mind. So if anyone can replace losing 8 stars on defense, it's going to be Coach Salazar. But yeah, so Coach Dodge, 217 and 17 career record at the high school level, with 6 state championships, 4 at South Lake Carroll, 2 here at Westlake. And this is something interesting. You'll have to go look at his records. The most losses he's had at a place has actually been at Westlake. He's had 13 losses. Now, some of his other states, he's had losing records overall. So like at Cameron Yo and a couple other places, Marble Falls, he's had losing records overall. But he's never lost more than 13 games at one place, which for his career as coach at any state, which is crazy to think of. But you look at the overall loss record of 72, and that makes sense. So, it's going to be interesting to see what
was his record?
His overall record?
Overall coaching record?
217 wins and 72 losses.
Okay, for some reason I thought you said like 13 losses. I was like, during his stay at Westlake, he's had a total of 13 losses. For his career. How long has he been the coach there?
I believe, I want to say 5 years. Let's see if I can figure that out. But I mean,
he's won back-to-back state championships though. So
correct. Yes, and that helps. And last year being an undefeated season. So let's see if I can find out here with the power of Google when he came on.
What's interesting, while you're looking that up, Westlake hasn't won as many state championships as you might think. For being such a powerhouse football program in the state of Texas, I think they've only won 3 state championships. I say only 3. I mean, the record is held by Aledo. I think they have 9 or 10.
Yeah, I believe you're right, because they won the one with Drew Brees. No. Yes.
No, I don't think they won with Drew Brees.
It was Nick Foles, right? Was it Nick Foles?
So, but that's the thing. Westlake has produced a ton of athletes and a ton of great quarterbacks. Drew Brees, Nick Foles, those guys have won Super Bowls. And then you have Sam Ellinger, who just graduated from the University of Texas. He was a Westlake guy. Even going back to like Garrett Gilbert, who's Gatorade National Player of the Year. Like, they've had some studs come out of Westlake. So the fact that they've won, when I say only 3, and 2 out of those last 3 have come in back-to-back seasons, that just shows that that's the Todd Dodge effect right there, in my opinion. Taking a well-known powerhouse football program, but also, all right, now we go win state championships. He just knows how to get it done, man.
Correct, yeah, and I can't find it at the top of my head. I should have screenshotted it. I had actually
That's okay.
Something where I had all of his records, but because I know he was at North Texas for a bit, and then he came out, and I think he went to Marble Falls first. So I think it was around 14 or 15 when he started at Westlake. So not a bad little time at Westlake. So, but yeah, we'll see if they can. I think it obviously Yes, they've lost a lot of defensive starters, but I think you're going to see Cade and the offense just coming out on fire, and the whole team trying to get one for Coach as he rides off into the sunset. We'll see if they can make it happen. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I mean, you got the.
I'm not betting against them.
I'm not. I mean, you got the number one quarterback. Who's going to Clemson. So hey, if anyone can do it, it's
Also,
them.
I think it depends on if they go D1 or D2. Because they're kind of on the edge like Katie is. Some years they can go D1. Some years they can go D2. So Katie won the state championship this last year in D2. 2 years ago now, Westlake, when they won that first of two, that was in Division 2. So that's why I think what made this last one so impressive is that they went up to D1 and still got it done, beating North Shore particularly.
Yeah, not only being North Shore, but being South Lake Carroll, which that one was fun to watch because that one was supposed to happen week 1 of the season before COVID happened, obviously. So it was great to be able to see a game that was supposed the Dodge Bowl as they called it. So I'm excited to see that whole thing play out. But I think it's a good stopping point for the news, so that way we can turn to our favorite segment of the show. Who's that mascot? That's right. That's where we come on in and tell you everything that's going on not tell you everything that's going on, where we play a little game where Scott tries to guess the mascot. Had a little issue there where it stopped a little early, so I had to cut away real quick. I don't know what,
I know
technology.
I got the camera right here, but my monitor's over here. So if I'm not looking at the camera here, I'm trying to go back and forth. I apologize.
There you go.
Lay it on me.
There you go. So who's that mascot? Give you 3 schools. You got to guess the mascot. I feel like I've given you very favorable teams this week. I've tried to trip you up the last few weeks, but I feel like I think all these schools are at least 5A and above. So they might all be 6A, but at least 5A and above. So
Lay it on me.
you should be able to get some of these right, especially the first one, I feel like. So are you ready for your first one? Your first one is Beaumont United. Basketball champions.
I can see their mascot.
Tell me what they're. Describe it to me.
It's like a horse.
So you're saying the Beaumont
thing. The colors are like gold and crimson.
Gonna need a guess, Scotty.
I'm gonna say Mustangs.
So you had the colors right, but the mascot wrong. It is the Timberwolves. It is the Beaumont United Timberwolves.
It's a horse-looking thing.
Oh, all right. You're
trying to get me. I should have gotten that one.
Yeah, especially because they won state this year. So next one, Kerrville Tivy.
The Tigers.
That is incorrect. The Kerrville Tivy Antlers, home of Johnny Manziel.
I would not have gotten Antlers. That wasn't even close.
All right, our last one, Stony Point. Stony Point is an Austin team.
Lions.
So I laughed when you made your last guess and you said Kerrville Tivy Tigers because it is actually the answer to this one. Stony Point Tigers. Stony Point Tigers.
Really?
It is. It is indeed. Sorry, Scotty. That is.
I should have known Stony Point. I should have known Beaumont United. Those two are going to eat me.
I think I always hype you up too. I'm always like, Scott, you're gonna get these right. You're gonna get these right, and then you always get them wrong. So maybe it's you can put some of that on me. I get in your head a little bit, It's time for our final segment of the show. That is one good thing. That is where I and Scott and I, give you one good thing we saw from this past week. And Scotty, I'm gonna let you go first as always.
So I wanted to touch on this earlier, but I did not because I wanted to save it for my one good thing that I saw this week. The one good thing that I saw was Giannis ordering 50 chicken nuggets at Chick-fil-A. Just how amazing was that? He's on Instagram Live doing his thing, He was like, I want 50 chicken nuggets. Not 51, not 49, 50 chicken nuggets. And he went to Chick-fil-A. That is why Giannis is the new face of the NBA. He goes out, balls out, does his thing, takes the Larry O'Brien trophy to where not only Chick-fil-A, he ain't going to Disney World, he ain't going to wherever, he's going to Chick-fil-A. That's my man. That's the one good thing I saw this week.
My one good thing, and I'll see if I can find the name of the people here. I would say it's the young athletes at the Olympics. So we had a 12-year-old in table tennis. Now she got knocked out in the first round, but 12-year-old in the Olympics at 12. That's crazy. And then the gold medalists and silver medalists in women's skateboarding are 13 respectively. Each are 13 years old. So we have champions for a sport that are 13 years old. Think about that for a second. 13 years. What was I doing at 13 years old, right? Picking my nose probably or something. Something silly like that. And these
sleeping in class.
Right? And these kids are out here winning Olympic medals. So hats off to them. I don't have the meet here. Hinzara is the name of the table tennis girl that I have. And then I don't know the other two names, but one of them actually went viral when she was like 9 or 10 because she was skateboarding in a ballerina outfit or something, and she went viral with it, and now she's a silver medalist at the Olympics. She was from Brazil, and the gold medalist from skateboarding was from Japan. So, the talent that some people have is just outstanding. And yeah, so that's my one good thing is just the young talent that we see at the Olympics. So young and so dominant already.
Are you watching a lot of the Olympics?
I try. So I watched some of the swimming last night. I was switching back and forth because I wanted to see the 4x100 and the USA game for CONCACAF is going on at the same time. So it's kind of switching back and forth there. But, I got to see the 4x100, which USA won. And then, of course, USA won their game against Jamaica in the CONCACAF. So they'll be playing Qatar Thursday here in Austin. And I'm thinking, do I want to go to that? So I may be going. We'll see.
Are you going?
I don't know. I got to look at ticket prices.
Cool.
I got to look at because I think they're going to be playing at that new stadium, which is just a beautiful thing to behold. And then we'll see if I decide to go. So, gotta look at ticket prices first. Okay. So, but
yeah, well, I'm curious because I'm not watching as much of it. I did tune in for the 4x100 relay last night, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. It seemed like the last leg, the guy was a little close jumping into the pool, but he made it. Because I just pulled up a LinkedIn article right here, and it says Olympic ratings hit a 33-year low.
That's interesting.
Down 36% compared to in 2016 Olympics.
I wonder why that is. I
have a couple theories just off the top of my head. One being the time difference.
That's true.
Between, it's being in Tokyo. NBC's doing a lot of those broadcasts here. I think they're the exclusive broadcast for the Olympics. Some of the games aren't going on until late at night. People are already asleep, and they're not. If they know what happens because of social media, they won't necessarily watch the replay. So
that's a good point. It'll be interesting to see is it 20? What is it 20? Is it 2026 or something? No, 2028 when it's going to be in America.
Yeah, I was reading an article. Houston might be on the short list.
So that will be interesting to see. Yeah, I think you might be right. Some of that. And we'll see. Some of the good. Track is still to come. So I'm going to be watching a ton when the track comes around. So we'll see if it peaks up once.
So it's a 36 drop in terms of the
week 1
opening ceremony.
Gotcha.
So that's that's one night, but generally it tends to be some of the biggest nights. Also, I think the other aspect is no fans. There aren't fans there. So look, if I'm watching the Olympics, I want to hear the fans cheer and crowd and all that stuff. So, it's kind of not the same, especially once the track and field meets really start hitting. Like that 100-meter dash, you want to hear just it being electric. So NBC might pump some music in to try to fix some of that, but everybody knows there aren't fans there. So that would be one of the other reasons why.
Yeah, speaking of music, you want to know something a little funny? Something a little funny about that? Video game music for the Olympic ceremony. That's a video video game music for the opening ceremony. So, but hey, that's the show for today. I'm Wac. I'm Scotty T. Hey, till next time.